Hey guys, Monk2 here, of course, and today we're looking at the Oland. Oland. I'm going to use Oland as my pronunciation. I do hope it's correct. It was very difficult to pronounce, I'm just going to say. So, first mod, A-gun mod is what I run. I like that, but if you're not too comfortable with the turret traverse, which can be, it is a little bit sluggish, main battery mod can do the trick. My current commander here, it does 18 seconds, which is a little bit sluggish. But again, if you're not comfortable with that, or if you're running a different commander here, if you're running Swirsky with the real twist and track, which gives you a gun traverse speed, it cuts that down for you, and you don't have to actually change the module. But I don't like using Swirsky, I like using Stig for this commander, we'll go into that later on. But if you're not comfortable dealing with some bad turret traverse or just like a little bit sluggish, just switch to main battery mod, you won't have any real problems. I just liked a bit more of the A support, as I said before. Alternative second module here, I recommend propulsion mods. The steering is average, so I don't have much of an issue with it, unless you're, again, running Swirsky with the Observant Rage, which will give you a 10% rudder debuff. Yeah, I recommend propulsion mod. Propulsion mod is just get out and go quickly, and of course, it really goes without saying with Concealing. You have a heal, yes, but it only heals like 10% of your health. It's not worth it. Survivability is on the medium side. It's not great, it's not bad either. You've got defensive A for free, you've got a heal that's percentage based, by the way, and you've got the standard speed, which is nice. Your speed is 36, which is round about, it's about American, so not exactly fast, but not exactly really slow either. It's not obviously the same speed of the Minsk, which is like the top speed, without speed boost. But it's like similar to Ben, 36.5, 36, very similar. Again, if you're running a speed flag, it will help out a little bit, but again, you can stick into it, it's all up to you. We're running a speed flag here, so it is a little bit on the slow side actually, on retrospect, but it's not that, it's alright. Anyway, I don't recommend running a gun build on this, the Jersey Swirsky gun build, where you're running like Observant Rage, as I mentioned before. You're buffing 2.5 second reload, it's really not that great. So I do recommend Stig here. Content is imminent, so you don't debuff your guns with Subsurface Venture. Look at me now, don't run Fragile Threat, you don't want to lose that health, no thank you. And for the third row of skills, all three are pretty good. You can run back in stock, less is more, because you've got 12 kilometer range, you can sacrifice a little bit. Perceptive is always good. Sheltered arms I highly recommend over Destroy or Be Destroyed, because you've only got 4 guns, 4 barrels, and losing dispersion on 4 barrels means a lot more than losing dispersion on like 8 barrels or 5. And then Unstoppable, of course. Anigo is what I'd recommend. It does make your torpedoes a little bit more stealthy, or space fishy, if you have that. And if you don't have any of those commanders, I highly recommend Sims, because he's very effective. Not only will he give your ship more health, he'll also buff the heal that you get. And Eric Bay is a solid choice for a secondary. You could go Conrad for a full A build again, but realistically it's not that effective. I recommend using Stig here. 5.3 of this detection, of course, with Swirsky you can get lower, but we'll see. And you obviously get 18 out torps. If you're running a full torpedo build, this is what it would look like, and it's actually pretty viable for those that like to strictly torpedo things and have the gunpowder to defend yourself. That's what the Oland is pretty good at. It can pretty good torpedoes, 10.2 range, 18 out torps, and reload in under a minute 56 seconds. Pretty darn good for a torpedo build, and again, the torpedoes are heavy hard, but again, it doesn't really matter because you get those floods. But I prefer using the gunboat style. It doesn't nerf my guns, and that's my option there. Again, running a full gunboat build like Swirsky here, its inspirations on double reload. I use this on the Friesland, and you can take a look. It's instead of 2.5, it's 2.1 seconds. The difference is minimal. You are gaining a percentage increase, and it does feel that way, but at the same time, I don't think it's worth it. I think it's better to use your torpedoes while you have them, And of course, if you don't have Stig, you can go to your commander store, go to Pan-European nations, and you can buy Swirsky, Conrad, or Stig as well. So those are really good options there. And yeah, armor's nothing special on the boat. And yeah, we'll head into the match. Hope you enjoy. Catch you in a bit. So here we go, we're in a match here. Pretty good matchmaking, pretty much all tier 6 with occasional tier 7. There's a tier 5 of the Underfield division, I've just noticed that actually. That might be fun to deal with, but overall, not a bad game. My first game of this was I did a live stream. If you haven't seen the live stream of this boat and you're still looking into it, I recommend checking that out as well. That is a 3-hour, basically how-to Oland, which is pretty good. Of course, I need to shorten it somewhat. This still is quite a long video now, I do apologise for that, but sometimes you can't help these things. I'm trying to trim it down, but I'm used to my old ways of doing things, you know. So, Oland, as I said before, this boat is a similar gun configuration to Friesland, 360 turrets. Your torpedo angles are not great, but they are very good torpedoes, very quick, and they reload quick as fast as well. Don't hit very hard, only hit for 10k, which is on the very low side, extremely low, but they're very quick. You can follow up torps, it's really good in that regard. And you're a pretty meaty gunboat, 2.5 second reload on guns that have a 7% fire chance and 1.7k alpha, not bad. So you're pretty good at contesting and fighting, and you can afford to trade a bit more than other DDs because you have access to your heals. Now the heals only heal for, it's like, I think it's around about 10%, so I can heal about 14k, well, sorry, not 14k, 1,400 to 2k, depending on the values. I don't know exactly, I've not worked that out, but you can work it out yourselves. It does scale with your health buffs, so you went Sims and Hide, for example, you could get a very good heal, which means you can trade up as well. So when you're getting on gunfights in the Oland, as long as you can disengage and recover, just like battleships can, you can get that heal off and it'll be more effective. Just like kind of like the kid, you've got more. You can afford to trade a lot more, which means you can get into more fights and other DDs might be able to do that because of that heal. Of course, a torpedo will kill you, and you know some damage you take. You can't afford to take too much damage. That's the case for everything, you know. But you can trade up and you can actually recover, so you can get into more fights than other gunboats might be able to do that. In addition, you're not just a pretty decent gunboat who can go toe to toe with pretty much everything at tier 6, and you'll heavily trade with the other gunboat DDs at the tier. Even some tier 7s you can possibly win a fight against. You're probably going to lose the likes of Friesland, of course, Fletcher, Akazuki, and maybe Lightning as well. There's of course tier 7 DDs you still have to respect, and you still have to respect the gunboats because you will win, yes, but you might trade too heavily, and it's all about trading well in the Oland. You want to get your as much as you can done without taking too much damage. And the damage you take is recoverable. So you basically you want to fight every fight at full strength. So you basically, for me, I've got two opportunities to trade up into these. I can take some damage, heal it back up if I need to, but of course I want to mitigate as much as I can. I didn't really get a chance to showcase AP on that shores there. I would probably get pens. I wouldn't get citadels. I would have to be a little bit closer. AP is good. Really advise using it on the broadside battleships if you've already got the fires. If the target hasn't got you broadside, is giving you broadside, you need to take advantage of it. That is more damage than you will do with HE, assuming you don't have the fires, because sometimes boats will turn, boats will angle. Definitely try to get the fires first and then switch to AP. The AP is not good enough like the Russians, where you'll get reliable citadels at long ranges, but you'll get some stuff done. You will. So yeah, 7% fire chance in these guns, 2.5 second reload. You should get a fire relatively quick, not amazingly so. I'm considering shooting this King George here after we've taken this cap. We don't have to push that shores anymore. There's no reason to push a potential radar boat. Wondering if that King George beats himself, but he did not. So he did actually, there we go. Now we can send some torps that way. I again, these torps are very quick. I should send them a little bit further back because by the time they get there, most torps would actually just hit the King George, but these are very fast torps. Again, these are same speed as Yukikaze torps, very quick, but they have a significantly reduced reload at the cost of 10k damage pretty much per hit. So I actually underestimated how fast these torpedoes are, and we only get about 3 hits, which isn't much for this boat. I actually get a fair amount of dev strikes because these torps are so quick, they'll catch people off guard. And again, even with Azure Lane Adigo, reducing detectability, or Space Fishy, or even none of those, you're still getting 76 knot torps that are pretty darn quick. Now he's over the island, nothing really can shoot us except from extreme long radius. We can get some shots in there. And again, not a fire, but still, as the saying goes, every little bit helps. And you never know, could have got fire, could have had damage control up. It doesn't matter. Anyway, as you can see, the torpedoes are already reloaded by the time we discussed that situation there. And yeah, we are all ready to get some more follow-up torps on that King George after we got a flood with the first 3 sets of torps. Also a second solo cap, by the way, which is pretty good. It seems to be these DDs in this match were pretty darn scared of the Oland's firepower. Again, there's a Benson as well. Benson could have a seriously good fighting chance against the Oland. I don't know who would win in a straight up fight. I need to see, because it's very difficult obviously when gunfights and a matter of who shoots first and who gets the follow-up shots and who aims the best. And of course, who mitigates the most damage is what settles the score. The gunpowder of the individual ships is not always just going to be the deciding factor. Again, we fired them just in the corner, and again, they are underestimated this time by the King George, who tried to avoid them, and he still takes one, which is always good. Every little bit of damage helps. Now this Jervis pops up here, and we're just going to show him a little bit of the gunpowder capacity of the Olands here. And again, he could smoke up, but at this point we've just got so much firepower down range here, it really doesn't matter what he does. And he's already dead, just like that. Again, very quick, very sudden. He didn't even know what hit him. By the time he turned his gun around, he was probably already dead. Once more, the torps are pretty much reloaded with 4 seconds left to go. We can take some pot shots at the King George and try and break his damage control one more time. Try and get a fire on the guy. And we can reroute the Benson too, that would be nice. I can't really see the Benson though, we don't have time to really swap targets very well. Benson gets a pretty good fire on us, that's a little bit unfortunate here, but again, that's what I meant by trading up. You can take these pot shots and you can reduce the enemy destroyer's health without having to worry about losing too much yourself, because I can use that heal and mitigate the damage I've taken, of course. And of course the Benson can't do that. Most DDs can't do that at this tier. There's only a couple rare few Ds that can, of course, the Kid and the other pan-European, Scani or Scone, I believe is the correct one to pronounce it. Anyway, some more follow-up shots from King George to see if we can try and get a fire. We've been quite unlucky with this guy. Maybe we'll get something before we have to cross this island here. And after 11 shots, we do get our fire. We did send some torpedoes again, and it's going to be harder for them to spot them because he's in a smoke screen, or at least their torpedoes are being hidden by a smoke screen. And as such, these torpedoes will actually hit home and probably sink that King George. Again, the damage they do is not necessarily the problematic, because they have a very short arrow spread, and again, if one hits, they tend to be more than one hit because they're very quick and they're really good grouping. So it's generally the case of 2 torpedo hits more than just one on its own, unless the guy just barely dodges most of it and couldn't hit one, like the King George did initially before. But again, we fired 3 connecting sets on the King George in a very short time, and he did not like it, basically. And we're actually coming into our third solo cap here, capture point Charlie. Now it looks like the Benson is capturing Bravo, and we want to get to the Benson, of course. We have a little bit, well, pretty much the same health pool as him. I think he's a little bit higher. We didn't really too many follow-up shots on the Benson, but we can still take that gunfight. We still have a heal coming up in 25 seconds, which is more than enough time to have the heal ready for the gunfight. That being said, we do actually need this cap, and I don't like playing around the caps too much because it just causes problems. It doesn't really gain much from a forest, and he actually has the advantage. It's 1 cap to 1 here. We do have a 200 point lead though, and that's pretty good, but at the same time we need to secure the cap and not just leave it to chase the Benson, who could already have left the B cap and gone off to do other stuff. I suspect he's probably gone south to try and get capture point Alpha, or at least sink those cruisers. Or, you know, he's gone for the battleship. Really could be either or. It doesn't matter, depending if he wants to take the gunfight. He's been running away from me ever since then, so I don't think he wants to take the gunfight. And yeah, we're just going to go cap this objective here, and then we'll push forward. I don't want to fight a cruiser, what it was that Cleveland on the other side of the map? He just got killed though, which is always great, but I'm not interested in fighting a Cleveland that has radar, fast firing gun, and is built to kill destroyers. Something really important to note with the Oland, and basically all the pan-European destroyers that don't have smoke screens, is that you really do need to pick your fights carefully, and if you can get away from situations, you book it and you get away from situations, because obviously you don't have a smoke screen, you don't have a get out of jail free card, your speed isn't fast enough to be that excuse like the French, because the French can just outrun things. You don't have that available, so you really got to pick your fights. One benefit of this nation here is that you have pretty good concealment. 5.3 is very good, and again, if you went doubles concealment using a Swersky, you can probably get it into 5.1, or even probably 5, or even maybe even into the 4.9 region, depending on how high level your commanders are. But yeah, you really don't want to be picking your fight. You want to be picking your fights. You don't want to be picking fights that you can't win, or they're just unfavorable to you. So you do need to keep that aware, and you do need to be a little more cautious in those boats, because you may have a heal, but it doesn't mean you're safe. It's not a get out of jail free card. You can only heal like 10% of your health, so it's not going to be the be all and end all. Try to get into the cap desperately here to try and chase this destroyer. But the mains is doing his kiting position here. We're up by 300 points here, and there's a Bismarck he's getting broadside to. It's a little bit dangerous to me. I'm like, oh god, I really hope that this guy will stop going, maybe stop shooting, maybe go dark. But we'll have to see. I think he actually does. No, we go. Shores is really low actually. It's probably worth killing him. Because I could probably deal with this Bismarck even if he does go down. So it's well worth shooting at the shores and getting rid of him. He's also probably fighting the Cleveland as well. But at the end of the day, he has a mains 27mm coating, plating. He can tank the Bismarck, he can tank the shores, and he can tank the Cleveland again. Not for forever, but he can do a pretty decent job at it. So yeah, we're going to push forward here and support him. There's no reason to shoot right now. We want to get that cap. And we sent some torpedoes towards the Bismarck. And again, I want to highlight one more time, these torpedoes are very quick. Picking your fights is very important in this boat. You need to be very careful about that because it's very easy to die and get killed very quickly in this boat if you're not careful. You really need to play this destroyer careful. Your priority is not just doing damage, it's keeping yourself alive and hunting down the targets you need to hunt down. Other than that, that is your job and nothing else. Getting caps is this is a good example here. This is where we got a lot of caps here. Four caps already here. It's pretty damn sizable in that regard. But I really think your main focus in this boat is hunting down essential targets that you think you're capable of dealing with, and dealing with them in a fast and efficient manner, then moving on. You don't want to be getting in there, saying, you know, picking a fight with anyone, and then just struggling to get away with it without a plan. Coordination and planning on this boat is pretty darn essential. You can even use your defensive AA in non-carrier games to mitigate being spotted by that plane. I don't want to be spotted by that plane, so I use the carrier consumable, the defensive AA, to make sure that Benson didn't get any shots that he shouldn't have got on me. Make sure that I trade up, because in case he torpedoes us mains or something happens, maybe the mains dies to the Cleveland, I need to be healthy, and there's no reason to do it. Basically, I have no other use for that consumable. There's reason and there's intent behind everything you do in this boat in a perfectly executed game. Right now, Benson spotted. As you can see, the dispersion of these guns, you only have 4 shells. You need to be aware that your dispersion is very important in this thing. Again, your aiming of course is probably most important here, but this is why I don't like destroy be destroyed. The speed advantage is wonderful, but at the same time you've only got 4 guns. Imagine they disperse, you probably get like 3 gun hits. It really does not bode you too well. The reload is sizably, you don't realize the reload is good as it is until you actually start playing the boat, and I can tell you that from experience. It's a really good gun boat, as you can see. Despite the mains chunking them pretty heavily, we're doing a fair amount of damage as well. We're bringing relatively good shots here, connecting. We've run about 15 shots on the guy. Yeah, we're right about that number. Probably 15 now. And that should be all he rolled. The mains gets the kill, doesn't matter really, as long as he's died. Try not to beat yourselves there, let's be careful. And we're getting our 5th cap. Unfortunately, the mains is also here, so we don't get the silver cap, but still. We pick up our high caliber as well. I think we showcased the gun power of this boat again. And if that Benson decides to take us down a peg again, we still have an extra heal in the backlog. Which means if this match lasted any longer, we could probably take on the shores and the Cleveland as well, because we were very healthy. We've preserved our health pool here. We've done some damage. We've still got very fast torpedoes. Even if he has sonar, it's going to be a difficult endeavour for him to dodge, along with the supporting ships that you've helped create and so forth. If you can support your team, you can do the job efficiently. Oland's good at sinking specific targets. You can hunt them down, do the job right, and move forth. Very good hunter, very good deer of the north, shall I say, to quote its namesake. So yeah. Hope you enjoyed this, guys, and this is basically what happened here. Game ends here because we're all 3 caps. We've been capping all day, and that's 1,000 points before the team have a chance to do much more damage, unfortunately. But still, we did a fairly decent game. Only high caliber, not a Confederate, unfortunately. Only 3.1 base. Again, GG to that mains as well, who also got 3k. And yeah, hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you all next time. Guys, make sure you have subscribed if you haven't. Please like the video if you haven't already. And yeah, thank you very much for all your time. Do comment on what your thoughts of the OOLand is, and hopefully you got that pronunciation right as well. So guys, catch you next time. Bye for now.